how much tax you'll owe on Vanguard funds this year. All right, so Vanguard just issued its 2025 preliminary capital gain distribution amounts. Mutual funds and ETFs typically distribute capital gains to shareholders each December. Below is a list of the Vanguard funds that were expected as of October 31st to distribute taxable capital gains in 2025. And you'll see here we got the funds. We'll go into them here in just a second. A couple things you need to know here. The 2025 payable date, that's when they're actually going to pay the capital gain. And you can see whatever for this case for the Advice Select International Growth is 12/18. The ex-dividend date and the record date of record. So let's go into the, it's been a long time since I had to regurgitate all this crap. But the record date is when a company officially identifies its shareholders to receive a dividend. All right, so the date of record, 12/16/2025 for the Advice Select International Growth Fund. That's the date of record. That is the day when you will be identified as the person to receive the dividend. The ex-dividend date is a cutoff point for buying the stock to receive that dividend. To receive a dividend, you must own the stock before the ex-dividend date because shares have a one-day settlement period. So in this case, the date of record is the last day you can own this stock in which to receive the dividend, or buy the stock in which to receive the dividend, if that makes sense. If you don't want to receive the dividend, you would want to get out of here before this date. So if you don't want the dividend, we don't want you owning it on the date of record. If you do want the dividend, we want you owning it on the date of record. All right. Anyway, so this fund right here, Advice Select International Growth, it's got a $1 per share capital gain, $1.02 per share capital gain, or 4.23% of the entire net asset value. So if you had a $100 NAV, $4 and 23 cents would be distributed, as a capital gain. All right, I hope that makes sense. Right, because it's 4.23% of the total portfolio. So given that total per share capital gains estimate is 102, well, you can see what that it would be in terms of how much the NAV is. All right, but look at this guy, 13.64% VDIGX. This is just capital gain, not even dividends. An eighth of the fund is going to be distributed as a capital gain. So if you have the Vanguard Dividend Growth Fund, woo, that's a big distribution right there. What is the VDIGX trading at right now? I mean, that's freaking nuts, dude. That's $5 VDIGX. VDIGX. $37. You're going to get $5. So we take our trusted calculator. It's $37. You can get $5.64, I think is what it said. I can't remember exact. 5.5 divided by 37. Yeah, that's crazy, man. You're going to get an eighth of that fund is going to be distributed to as a long-term capital gain. It doesn't really say if it's long-term or not. That's nuts. Here we got equity income, 10%, 8%. Look at this. Global equity, 10%. Woo! Man. 8.77 growth in income. Jeez. Well, 14 international value, 14% of the portfolio is going to be distributed as a capital gain. $6 a share, 6.67 cents a share. Woo! Man. Holy crap, look at these guys. Prime cap. 13 mid cap growth, almost a fifth of the portfolio is going to be distributed as a capital gain. $27 in prime cap. Prime cap is probably trading it's got to be trading like well into the hundreds, right? 150 or something like that. Let's see. Oops. VPMX. VP Max. Me, I'm VP Max, Vice President Max. Yeah, 211. You're going to get a $27 capital gain. So just think you bought Prime Cap back in freaking, 10 years ago at $100. You're getting, woo, man, you're going to get crushed. There's Finnegan. Let's take a look. Target funds, strategic equity, right there. Strategic equity, 9.26. Selected value, 10%. Mid cap growth, 17%. That's crazy. Look at that. Notice, here's Wellesley, 4%. Wellington, 8%. Windsor, almost 10%. Huh. Interesting. We don't see any index funds in there, do we? You know why there's no index funds? Because Vanguard doesn't distribute capital gain distributions in their index funds. Interesting. Bond funds will be minimal. Let's see, because we haven't had, look at that, nothing in bonds, because there is no capital gains in bonds, because the bond market has just been destroyed. in terms of the price with the higher interest rates and whatnot. There's just been no growth in bonds. That's what I always say. There's no growth in bonds. All right. Look at that. Let's see what else we got here. I guess that's it. So don't forget VDI. Let's just go look at VDIGX too, by the way. Where was it? The dividend growth right there. VDIGX. Let's see what the dividend yield has been. Excuse me. VDIGX. VDIGX. And that's yielding another, oh man, that's it. 2%, 1.56%. Oh, well, okay. That's not, oh, there he goes. Ow. There's my pen. You know, it's not getting paid much in income there on dividends, but still, you got to pay tax on that too. So between 1.56% and 13%, yeah, you're gonna get hit. You're gonna get hard, man, on taxes there. That's why you always want index funds. Come on, in your brokerage account, because there is no capital gain distributions on Vanguard index funds. I don't know about Fidelity. Ow, man, he's got these claws, dude. You know, he's a freaking not Tyrannosaurus, a member of Velociraptor, whatever they call it, one from Jurassic Park. Ow, that hurt. Anyway, so, poof. Man, that dividend growth fund, you're going to get hammered. Crazy. Globe, we got ESG. Yeah, where they got the precious metals? I don't see any precious metals. They must not have any. Ooh, let's take a look at precious metals. Must not have any unrealized capital gains. Oh, I could have sworn they used to. When I worked there, they had a precious metals fund. Could have sworn they did. What the hell was it called? Golden Precious Metals, I thought was what it called. Anyway, they got this Vanguard Global Capital Cycles Fund. What the hell is that? Let's take a look at what this is. World Stock Fund. And let's see what's unrealized gains. NAV price, $19. Let's see what the unrealized gains are here, if there are any. Take a look here. Wow, look at that. Unrealized gains, 23.88% is, they sold, look at that, man. Anyway, 23.88% is their unrealized gains as a percent of NAV. And what was it trading at again? Was it trading at, what the hell was it trading at? $19. Yeah, look at that, dude. But look at all, did you see that? So right here, it's trading at, what the hell did I just say? $19, I think. So right here, it's basically $4.50 is unrealized capital gain. So 23.88% of the fund is unrealized capital gain. A quarter of the fund is growth they've had. And yet, look at this realized gain, minus $13.71. That's crazy. Which is 70. Look at that. Realized gain was 73% of the portfolio. They must have had a massive distribution. Let's see here at some point. Not much. That's a dividend. They got capital gain distributions? Anyway, I guess not, because it's a negative. Yeah, capital gains right there. Page 1 of 2. Page 1 of, that's just it. Page 1. Yeah, that's weird, man. The distribution here was nothing. 30 cents a share on a $17 portfolio, on a $12 portfolio. It's a dividend. Yeah, so there's no capital gain. I wonder if that means you got capital loss carry forwards in this guy. I don't know the answer to that. Interesting though. If they had a realized gain, it looks to me that's a negative gain right there. Negative $13.71, which is a negative 73% of the NAV. Does that mean you get to, a fund's capital gain losses reveal the tax implications of holding a particular fund a taxable account. This is true of both realized and unrealized capital gains. Anyway, that's learn more about. I'm not going to go into that. That's interesting though. Look at that. Negative 70%, 73% of the NAV is a net unrealized, is a realized loss. That means you're not going to have capital gains for a long time, I bet. I just don't know if the shareholders, I don't think you get to write that off as an individual shareholder. I think it goes back to the fund. So there's probably not going to be any capital gains in that fund for a long time, I wouldn't think. But, because right here we got $13 a share of unrealized, realized losses right there. So even if they sold the whole portfolio today, yeah, that's, that $4.45 unrealized gains can be wiped out by this unrealized gain. Yeah, it's very interesting. But good stuff, man. So Vanguard, I could have sworn that. I wonder what USA is. Hold on a second. I was trying to look up the old USAA Golden Precious Metals Fund, USAGX. That's been around for a long time, but I just looked at Morningstar, and I don't have a subscription to Morningstar, so I'm not all that interested in it. But I imagine they too have massive capital loss carry forwards just because they just got destroyed from 2011 on. So this year they're up pretty good, as the other fund was up 50%. But I bet there's some serious capital loss carry forwards in those two funds. That does not mean you should buy it or anything like that, and I'm not saying that at all. I just imagine that means they're probably not going to pay a capital gain for a long time, that's for sure. But if you own the Vanguard Dividend Growth Fund or the Prime Cap, you're getting swamped, that's for sure, this year. So that's why we have our active managed funds in Roth, our index funds in brokerage account to avoid capital gain distributions. That's why you do it. Now, should you even have active managed funds? Not really, but if you're gonna, you put them in your Roth or your IRA. You get them out of your brokerage accounts. All right, love your thoughts. Smash that like button. We'll see you.